Hi, Veronica. I'm Christopher
Hi,
Galar.
Christopher.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing good myself. It's also good to reunite with you after Imaginary a few years
Yes.
ago. So it's been a while. So it's glad to catch up with you here now for The Mummy, which is probably one of the more long-standing horror franchises of any monster franchise. So even though this film has its own story, how did you sort of pull inspiration from the other women of the Mummy franchise to invigorate your own performance here?
It has nothing to do with any other woman of any other franchise of the Mummy because it's a very different Mummy. This one comes from Lee Cronin's brain and it's a reimagining of the Mummy. So, I love the other Mummy movies. Don't get me wrong. I knew like the Brendan Fraser ones that are a little more adventure, and of course the original Mummy of 1932. Like Boris Karloff, one of the best horror films in my opinion ever made. But this is a new mummy. This is a new story. The mummy, it's been reimagined through Lee Cronin's brain, and so it was really. I was inspired by his script, really.
It's really family centric, this entire film, and it's the heart of the movie. And you've played other parental figures sort of before. However, with this role, you take a much more interwoven role in the overarching narrative itself. So, what do you think is the one trait about Carmen that you latched onto in regards to that overarching familial element?
Love. I
Mm.
think it all comes from love. She loves her family profoundly. And what's happening is horrifying, and it's not only happening to her granddaughter, it's happening to her daughter, to her grandson, to the other granddaughter, to her son-in-law, and all of it comes from love. All of her actions come from love. She wants to protect the family. She wants to provide a safe space for them to heal. She wants to protect them, and she is a woman of faith. So she is lashing onto her faith to protect her family. And she also has a quirky sense of humor. And I think, what she's doing with that is trying to make a little bit of a breather for her daughter, like maybe say, come on, it's going to be okay. It's her way of saying it is going to be okay. We're together in this. We're going to help her. We're going to save her. We're going to be okay. We are alive. We're going to help her. And but deep down, of course, she's horrified and she's worried and she's incredibly suffering for all the pain her family is going through.
I also love how you sort of bring up faith as part of her character because sort of that idea of faith revolves around both like the Egyptian mythology and even Carmen's own beliefs. How do you think that idea of faith sort of resonated with you as you were reading the script into like bring out Carmen's faith in sort of those scenes as she was trying to, hope that, Katie would like come out of this well and okay?
I think for her, she doesn't quite understand how evil works because she's a good woman and she doesn't. It's never happened before. She's heard about stories, but it's never happened. So when it happens, it's something that she understands is beyond her. So she holds on to her faith, her higher powers, her God, because she needs to have that containment herself. And that's where she gets some of her strength. I think on one hand is the love of her family that makes her very strong. And in another hand is her belief that makes her very strong. And she's a woman of faith. She believes and she believes in good, she believes in light, and she holds on to that.
Speaking about that faith, it just also really gets tested in these physical ways because the number of times that Carmen gets headbutted by Katie is just absolutely surprisingly, it's shocking, but it's also a little bit funny. So
It
from
is.
and it just gradually gets violent. So how did you prepare yourself for those moments of action? And was it also shocking for you to also get into like those little moments of action as it just gradually gets more extreme later on?
Oh no, it happened when I was reading the script. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh really? I'm like, come on. He really goes through the whole array of things. And in terms of the preparation, we had an incredible stunt team. We were training all of us because we all have different action things. It's very action oriented in terms of the physical performance of this character. I had an incredible stunt woman, Sheila from Spain. She was amazing, but all the stunt men and women were really, really good. So part of the most dangerous things she would do I try to do as much as they allow me and I can because I think the audience enjoys that. And I, particularly as an actor, enjoy very much doing as many stunts as I can. So, yeah, it's very physical. It's exhausting at times. Sometimes you're like, okay, come on, another time. But I think it's totally worth it. I think the audience is going to enjoy very much. I don't know if enjoy or enjoy and scream or enjoy and be, but I think you're gonna have fun, especially if you go see the movie with a lot of people. It's a very communal experience when you see horror, in a movie theater, and I think that's when it's most fun. For me, at least, when I see it with people and we all screaming and screaming of the other one screaming and laughing, I think that's amazing, and I hope people do that and enjoy it in the film as much as we did enjoy making.
Oh yeah, I definitely had that experience last night at like that particular moment in like the second act when you're suddenly pulled back because of what Katie does. And oh my God, that entire scene just absolutely scared me when I can't spoil it yet, but I think fans will know when they see it. But aside from
Yeah.
the action, you also get into some crazy mummified prosthetics later on, which honestly must have been insane for you since is this like your first time actually getting into like that many prosthetics before? Like,
To this extent, yeah. I had another series that I did a little bit of prosthetics, kind of like that, but never to this level. I mean, the level of design, the level of craftsmanships that go into the prosthetics of Katie and mine are incredible. Like I had prosthetics from day one because they have to age me 15 years to play this role. So the whole movie, my teeth are not mine. So that alone already takes something because I'm performing in a second language and diction and getting used to them. But everybody was so good. Every single person that worked in that movie, they really knew what they were doing, and that helps a lot as an actor because you don't want to be in a movie where you have to do all that and people don't know what they're doing. That could be that could be very, very, very bad. So no, I mean it was demanding, and sometimes the process would take from 3 to 6 hours. But that's my job, and I'm very grateful to have that job. And Katie have to go through more. So if
oh
she
yeah.
wasn't complaining, I was not gonna complain at all.
And definitely because like one of the scenes with you and the prosthetics, I'd say one of the highlights in your mummified version was when you make that first appearance on that table, completely scaring Charlie. What was it like to film that particular moment and just intensify the ruthlessness in the final act just from there?
Well, it's one moment in the character and the character's arc where you really don't have any constraints. You're not constrained by age, you're not constrained by morals, you're not constrained by anything. It's completely anarchic, and that is a very freeing experience to perform. And there was a lot of thought put into that, starting with Lee's script and then the way he decided to direct that scene. And then it's one of the scenes where Lee allowed me a little bit of leeway to propose certain things. And that was beautiful, when a director trusts you that way and says, okay, go for it, go for it. And then it's not only him, it's his whole crew, because everybody was so supportive in that scene. And I mean, starting with Jack, his character is going through a moment that is absolutely horrifying after what he's seen, and then this craziness happens. So you need two to tango. You don't do this alone, especially horror, more so than any other genre. I think people have to be very much in the same page, and we all work together. We all feed of one another's talents or abilities, and that was one of the most joyous scenes I've ever played in my career.
I absolutely love to hear that. And I absolutely, one last question. I loved it when you said you collabed with Lee on getting your ideas out there. Is there one idea that you think hopefully makes it into the final cut if you haven't
Not
seen it
really.
already?
I mean, you just propose things, and you have to be very respectful, especially when you're going with someone, like Lee. He's a fantastic director. So what am I gonna say? But as an actor, sometimes you have a little crazy idea that adds on. You don't create anything by yourself. You have to create any proposal you do has to come from what he is giving you because he is the director, he is the creator. I'm just an actor. But sometimes as an actor, you can have a little proposal here and there, and Lee was kind enough to allow me to play, which is really what a good director does. They allow you to play, but you also have to be disciplined enough and respect your director. You're not directing the movie, you're not writing the movie. Those are not your talents. You are an actor, and you work on behalf of his vision, of what he wants to say, and of the character. So that's what's so much fun about working with Lee. He allows his actors a lot of freedom within the constraints of what's being written and designed, and that is rare. It was very enjoyable.
That's just a perfect answer that we unfortunately have to finish our conversation up on. But I absolutely love Carmen in the film, and I can't wait
Thank
for
you.
everyone else to see The Mummy releasing this Friday again. But Veronica, thank you so much for your time again, and I really hope
Thank you.
that you have a wonderful day again. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Christopher.
Nice
Bye
meeting you
bye.
again.